All right, gang, I do have a Sunday morning editorial for you. And this one, I'm going to put a link to this story, which is pretty lengthy, in the description box below. I'm also going to put a link to the YouTube video down below that one, so you can go watch the YouTube video. It's about 45 minutes long. That's why I didn't put it here. But it's worth the watch. You can skim through it. Or let's just jump into it and see what I'm talking about. Thank you to My Citizen News for this story. A veteran police officer was suspended for 2 days without pay after an internal investigation concluded he violated the Naugatuck Police Department's Code of Conduct during a traffic stop in September 2020. Officer Ian Koski, 42, served his suspension October 15th and October 16th and was also ordered to attend de-escalation training, the second time he has been ordered to retake this training, according to internal police documents and a letter from Police Chief Stephen Hunt to Koski detailing the discipline. His salary, $87,887, according to police. The internal investigation stemmed from a complaint filed by a Naugatuck resident about a traffic stop on September 21st. Investigators determined the way Koski spoke with Jonas Barakis, who filed the complaint, was unprofessional and a poor representation of the department, according to the chief's letter. Koski was being paid by an outside company to guard a construction site on Rubber Avenue when Barakis drove around a police cruiser that was blocking a lane on the road at the intersection of Arch Street and Rubber Avenue. Barakis drove in the wrong lane on Rubber Avenue and into the A1 Plaza parking lot at 129 Rubber Avenue, according to police. Surveillance video released by police showed Koski approach the car as Barakis climbed out. The two are face-to-face at one point, and after about a minute, Koski grabbed the man's hand, turned him around, and pushed him up against the car, the video showed. Barakis and Koski continued a heated exchange in the parking lot. At one point, Barakis says Koski's actions were uncalled for. Barakis is heard in body camera footage telling officers Koski ran up to the car screaming at him. He says he asked for another officer when Koski first asked for his license because he felt his safety was in danger, according to the video. He says he got his license and had it in his hand when Koski slammed him against the car. Now, there's a whole bunch here. I mean, it goes down and down, and I'm not going to read all of it to you. It's pretty long. It says the 2-day suspension was the first time Koski was suspended in his 14 years with the department, according to documents provided to the Citizen News in response to a Freedom of Information Act. Koski has been issued 2 written reprimands during his career for violating departmental policy. In August 2010, Koski was reprimanded for continuing to pursue a motorcyclist who was suspected of operating under the influence, despite being told to end the pursuit by a supervisor. Records show Koski continued the chase without his cruiser's lights and sirens on. The driver eventually crashed and was arrested, but Koski was reprimanded for violating the department's pursuit policy, which prohibits officers from engaging motorcycles in a pursuit unless a supervisor approves it, according to a letter to Koski in August 2010 from then Chief Christopher Edson. Boy, that was a mouthful. In February 2015, Koski received a written reprimand and was required to go through de-escalation training for violating the department's code of conduct. The discipline was the result of an internal investigation into how Koski and Officer John Julian handled a noise complaint in November of 2014. And the investigation determined the officers eventually engaged a man who was not aggressive or threatening in a back-and-forth argument instead of de-escalating the situation. The argument led to the officers charging the man with breach of peace, according to the records. Koski has earned 9 awards during his career, records show, including the Medal for Outstanding Service for his work as the department's canine officer. In May of 2017, Koski and Canine Vane tracked and found a suicidal woman lying in the woods in the area of Spencer Street. The woman, who took a large quantity of prescription medication, had cuts on both her forearms, according to police. He didn't find the woman. The dog did. The canine's the one who should have got the award. In May of 2011, Koski and Lieutenant Brain Newman responded to a call for an unresponsive victim. It's probably Brian Newman, but it says Brain. Maybe his name is Brain. Is he from Escape from New York? Brain! They gave the victim, who was not breathing, CPR until an ambulance arrived. The victim recovered and the officers received the life-saving award. The lieutenant probably did that. Koski was probably going, "Wake up!" I don't know. Koski and Vane also received unit citations for tracking an armed robbery suspect in December 2013 and in July 2013, recovering forensic evidence in a sexual assault investigation involving a juvenile victim. Koski and Vane, no, Vane did it. Koski went, "Foot," and Vane took off and he found it. I mean, Koski was also recognized by the Naugatuck Exchange Club as its 2020 Officer of the Year and recognized by Mothers Against Drunk Driving in 2011 for traffic enforcement, police said. So he's got all these great, he does so much good in the community, but he's got 2 reprimands. Two written reprimands. He's been to de-escalation training twice, but he's a great officer, man. And I know that we all have bad days. I know that we all, none of us are perfect. Nobody's perfect. But it's interesting. I mean, he did something bad enough to he got a 2-day suspension without pay. But then they got to say, oh, but he's a good officer. Here's all the good stuff he does. Okay, that's great. But what about cops that do good stuff that don't have written reprimands, have never been suspended, are very polite to people? What about them? I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. Community Leo Watch, watching Leos. It's law enforcement officers to include guys with written reprimands and de-escalation training from coast to coast.
My shoulder is fucking hurting like hell. I tried it with my shoulder, it's hurting.
Fine, you're gonna go to the hospital?
I don't
It's
feel like
fine,
I
I'm
need to go to
not.
the hospital.
You're gonna go to the hospital, you're in custody, okay? It's fine.
That's work on the end.
Take it. Call
I'm just saying, my shoulder hurts.
Have the supervisor come. Forget it, he's right here. We're gonna make sure that you're going. He's gonna probably, one of these 2 officers gonna go with you. You're in custody for interference, okay? There's no interference. Yes, there was. Absolutely. Like you said, it's on camera. Right? Don't worry, we'll be seeing that camera footage too. He's going to be under arrest for interference. Go. You want to go to the hospital?
You want to go to the hospital? Is that what you want?
The hospital. So this is what happened. Comes down probably 30, 40 miles per hour. Fucking, I'm seeing him looking, I'm like, what is he doing? And he just bypasses me. And I'm like, stop! He disregards and goes over here, parks here. I go up to him, I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, why are you driving the wrong side of the road? Cars are coming up into the lane where it's coming out the traffic. And he fucking bypasses it, and then he starts screaming at me. I'm like, now give me your ID. I was like, you want to go back and forth with it? I was like, give me your ID. And then he's like, I don't have to give you your ID. He holds his ID in his hand. I'm like, give me your ID. You're getting a ticket. Now he doesn't want to give me an ID. I was like, dude, give me your ID or you're going to jail. And he keeps doing one of these things. So I whip him around, turn him around, I was going to put him in handcuffs. I don't have him on me. And then I turn around and he's going to arrest him. And I said, fine, I'll give you a ticket. He starts complaining his shoulder's hurting. I was like, it's fine, whatever. And then he wants to complain his shoulder's hurting. I said, then I'm going back. You're getting arrested for me putting you in restraints. And I was like, and then you go to jail. I was like, it's fine with me. No problem. All right. So that's what happened.
And I always pass by you guys. Sometimes it's not the same people there. You guys let me by just so I don't have to go all the way around. I didn't personally see him. I saw the vehicle. I went around him. Like I did, I went slowly. There was no vehicles coming. I come in here, I park. Get my stuff, and I see him walking towards me. And I say, hey. And he starts screaming at me. And obviously now I'm mad because he's not even allowing me to explain myself. So I'm trying to explain myself, and he tells me to get out of the car. And then it went from there.
Incorrect. I didn't tell you got a car. I told you give me your ID.
And I did.
No, you didn't.
My ID was in my hand when you already had me.
Your cameras will show it. That's fine.
Absolutely.
It's fine.
My ID was in my hand, my wallet was in this hand, my ID was in this hand.
Okay.
While you had me like this, both of them were in my hand as you were asking for it. So 100%. My ID, everything was in my hand when you asked.
Okay.
And then we had a disagreement from there.
So his car's across the road, blocking the road, and you came in the wrong way regardless.
I did.
And listen, you got to understand something. The construction around here changes every day.
I know.
What may have worked one day doesn't work another day, and yelling and screaming about it is not the way to go about handling it. And then to say, well, this worked yesterday, that doesn't mean anything. You know, you got
I
an
was wrong
officer.
about that.
You got an officer blocking the road over there, and he comes over, and you guys are going back and forth. I mean,
I know. There's no point in going back and forth.
yeah.
I know. I was in the wrong because, I mean, you guys always let me, so I assumed me
No,
going
that
slow,
doesn't-
there's absolutely no cars coming, it was going to be fine, you know? Like I
But we can't work like that because obviously,
I'll
if, you
keep
know,
that in mind,
if
or
somebody gets hurt
I'll
or
ask
something
the
as well,
officer.
you know.
I understand.
So
I'll make sure to communicate with you guys to get the approval instead of just slowly driving by. Because I'm here every single day. I'm not looking to have problems with any of it. I live in town. I have a business in town. I'm not looking for problems. That's the least. Last thing I want.
so why wouldn't you give you? What happened with the ID?
I had my ID in my hand.
Okay.
When he pulled me around, and I had my hands like this, my ID was stuck between here and here. And he kept screaming, give me your ID. I said, it's in my hand. And that was it.
Why didn't you give it to him before all that? Like, why are we already getting to your hands are behind your back before you're giving him the ID?
Because he was sitting there screaming at me, and I started screaming back at him.
Okay.
You told me you were not going to give me an ID, that you wanted another officer to take your ID.
Because of the way that you were acting towards
Yep,
me,
and you don't get that
I
choice.
felt that my safety was in danger and how you approached
Right.
me. That's why I
Okay.
asked for someone else to come here.
Because
and
I
that's
told
when
you to give me
grabbed
my
me
ID.
and slammed me on
it's
my
interfering.
car. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Get
It is.
a law
Interfering
book.
with who? Interfering with who, though?
Police officer.
I understand
Are you
that.
not understanding that?
But interfering in what way?
I have the authority to ask you for the ID. You have to give it to me.
And I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You gave it to him. You wouldn't be in this situation.
I was getting it out of my wallet. It was slammed against the back. I understand, but I had my wallet in my hand as he was slammed.
All right. I don't think it. No, I don't think you understand this. But obviously, you did something you shouldn't have done.
I did.
Okay, and then rather than just being, okay, my bad, it escalated with yelling and screaming and nonsense over, I don't got to give you my ID, I do got to give you my ID, oh, hold on, it's over here. Really? And you're saying we're enemies now because you want to break balls and dance around things and split hairs over whether or not you got to show your ID or not?
Well,
Come on.
Would you like being slammed against your own car? And then still...
Would you like somebody driving the wrong way in a construction zone and then breaking your balls about it when a simple question of whether or not give me your ID? All right, so that's where we're at.
I understand.
Okay, and I understand you might have been allowed to go through here before, but look at this place. There's construction, there's traffic. I mean, there's a lot going on
I
here.
know. The way that I have to go around it is just so long.
Okay, but guess what? Everybody in town has to deal with that.
I know.
You're not special.
I know.
All right?